Dally was arguing with one of the nurses when we came in. He grinned at us. Man, am I glad to see you. These blank hospital people won't let me smoke and I want out. We sat down, grinning at each other. Dally was his usual mean, ornery self. He was okay. Shepard came by to see me a while ago. That's what Johnny said. What do you want? Said he saw my picture in the paper and couldn't believe it didn't have wanted dead or alive under it. He mostly came to rub it in about the rumble. Man, I hate not being in that. Only last week, Tim Shepard had cracked 3 of Dally's ribs. But Dally and Tim Shepard had always been buddies, no matter how they fought. They were 2 of a kind, and they knew it. Dally was grinning at me. Kid, you scared the devil out of me the other day. I thought I'd killed you. Me? I said, puzzled. Why? When you jumped out of the church, I meant to hit you just hard enough to knock you down and put out the fire. But when you dropped like a ton of lead, I thought I'd aimed too high and broke your neck. He thought for a minute. I'm glad I didn't, though. I'll bet, I said with a grin. I'd never liked Dally. But then, for the first time, I felt like he was my buddy. And all because he was glad he hadn't killed me. Dally looked out the window. He sounded very casual. How's the kid? We just left him, Tubit said, and I could tell that he was debating whether to tell Dally the truth or not. I don't know about stuff like this, but, well, he seemed pretty bad to me. He passed out cold before we left him. Dally's jawline went white as he swore between clenched teeth. Tubit, you still got that fancy black-handled switch? Yeah? Give it here. Tubit reached into his back pocket for his prized possession. It was a jet-handled switchblade, 10 inches long, that would flash open at a mere breath. It was the reward of 2 hours of walking aimlessly around a hardware store to divert suspicion. He kept it razor sharp. As far as I knew, he had never pulled it on anyone. He used his plain pocket knife when he needed a blade, but it was his showpiece, his pride and joy. Every time he ran into a new hood, he pulled it out and showed off with it. Dally knew how much that knife meant to Tubit, and if he needed a blade bad enough to ask for it, well, he needed a blade. That was all there was to it. Tubit handed it over to Dally without a moment's hesitation. You gotta win that fight tonight, Dally said. His voice was hard. We gotta get even with the Socs. For Johnny. He put the switch under his pillow and lay back, staring at the ceiling. We left. We knew better than to talk to Dally when his eyes were blazing and he was in a mood like that. We decided to catch a bus home. I just didn't feel much like walking or trying to hitch a ride. Tubit left me sitting on the bench at the bus stop while he went to a gas station to buy some cigarettes. I was kind of sick to my stomach and sort of groggy. I was nearly asleep when I felt someone's hand on my forehead. I almost jumped out of my skin. Tubit was looking down at me worriedly. You feel okay? You're awful hot. I'm all right, I said, and when he looked at me as if he didn't believe me, I got a little panicky. Don't tell Derry, okay? Come on, Tubit, be a buddy. I'll be well by tonight. I'll take a bunch of aspirins. All right, Tubit said reluctantly, but Derry'll kill me if you're really sick and go ahead and fight anyway. I'm okay, I said, getting a little angry. If you keep your mouth shut, Derry won't know a thing. You know something? Tubit said as we were riding home on the bus. You'd think you could get away with murder living with your big brother and all, but Derry's stricter with you than your folks were, ain't he? Yeah, I said, but they'd raised 2 boys before me. Derry hasn't. You know, the only thing that keeps Derry from being a Soc is us. I know, I said. I had known it for a long time. In spite of not having much money, the only reason Derry couldn't be a Soc was us, the gang, me and Soda. Derry was too smart to be a greaser. I don't know how I knew, I just did, and I was kind of sorry. I was silent most of the way home. I was thinking about the rumble. I had a sick feeling in my stomach, and it wasn't from being ill. It was the same kind of helplessness I'd felt that night Derry yelled at me for going to sleep in the lot. I had the same deathly fear that something was going to happen that none of us could stop. As we got off the bus, I finally said it. Tonight, I don't like it one bit. Two-Bit pretended not to understand. I never knew you to play chicken in a rumble before. Not even when you was a little kid. I knew he was trying to make me mad, but I took the bait anyway. I ain't chicken, Two-Bit Matthews, and you know it, I said angrily. Ain't I a Curtis? Same as soda and dairy? Two-Bit couldn't deny this, so I went on. I mean, I got an awful feeling something's gonna happen. Something is gonna happen. We're gonna stomp the Socs' guts, that's what. Two-Bit knew what I meant, but doggedly pretended not to. He seemed to feel that if he said something was all right, it immediately was, no matter what. He's been that way all his life, and I don't expect he'll change. Soda Pop would have understood, and we would have tried to figure it out together, but Two-Bit just ain't soda. Not by a long shot. Cherry Valance was sitting in her Corvette by the vacant lot when we came by. Her long hair was pinned up, and in the daylight she was even better looking. That Stingray was one tough car, a bright red one. It was cool. Hi, Ponyboy, she said. Hi, Two-Bit. Two-Bit stopped. Apparently, Cherry had shown up there before during the week Johnny and I had spent in Windricksville. What's up with the big times? She tightened the strings on her ski jacket. They play your way. No weapons. Fair deal. Your rules. You sure? She nodded. Randy told me. He knows for sure. Two-Bit turned and started home. Thanks, Cherry. Ponyboy, stay a minute, Cherry said. I stopped and went back to her car. Randy's not going to show up at the rumble. Yeah, I said, I know. He's not scared. He's just sick of fighting. Bob? She swallowed, then went on quietly. Bob was his best buddy since grade school. I thought of Soda and Steve. What if one of them saw the other killed? Would that make them stop fighting? No, I thought maybe it would make Soda stop, but not Steve. He'd go on hating and fighting. Maybe that was what Bob would have done if it had been Randy instead of him. How's Johnny? Not so good, I said. Will you go up to see him? She shook her head. No, I couldn't. Why not? I demanded. It was the least she could do. It was her boyfriend who had caused it all, and then I stopped. Her boyfriend. I couldn't, she said in a quiet, desperate voice. He killed Bob. Oh, maybe Bob asked for it. I know he did. But I could never look at the person who killed him. He only knew his bad side. He could be sweet sometimes and friendly, but when he got drunk, it was that part of him that beat up Johnny. I knew it was Bob when he told me the story. He was so proud of his rings. Why do people sell liquor to boys? Why? I know there's a law against it, but kids get it anyway. I can't go see Johnny. I know I'm too young to be in love and all that, but Bob was something special. He wasn't just any boy. He had something that made people follow him, something that marked him different, maybe a little better than the crowd. Do you know what I mean? I did. Cherry saw the same things in Dallas. That was why she was afraid to see him, afraid of loving him. I knew what she meant, all right. She also meant she wouldn't go see Johnny because he had killed Bob. That's okay, I said sharply. It wasn't Johnny's fault Bob was a booze hound, and Cherry went for boys who were bound for trouble. I wouldn't want you to see him. You're a traitor to your own kind and not loyal to us. Do you think your spying for us makes up for the fact that you're sitting there in a Corvette while my brother drops out of school to get a job? Don't you ever feel sorry for us? Don't you ever try to give us handouts and then feel high and mighty about it? I started to turn and walk off, but something in Cherry's face made me stop. I was ashamed. I can't stand to see girls cry. She wasn't crying, but she was close to it. I wasn't trying to give you charity, Ponyboy. I only wanted to help. I liked you from the start. The way you talked. You're a nice kid, Ponyboy. Do you realize how scarce nice kids are nowadays? Wouldn't you try to help me if you could?
Lauren, are you here?
I would. I'd help her and Randy both if I could. Hey, I said suddenly, can you see the sunset real good from the west side? She blinked, startled, then smiled. Real good. You You can see it good from the east side, too, I said quietly. Thanks, Ponyboy. She smiled through her tears. You dig okay? She had green eyes. I went on, walking home slowly.